Welcome, guys, to another episode of StuTube. Going to be taking a look at Bitcoin on several different time frames, as well some altcoins. Those of you here with me live right now, if you have any altcoins you want me to check out or anything like that, let me know in the comments, but also let me know what time frame you're looking at them on, and I'll see if I see any Stuber fibs, anything like that that just happens to jump right out at me. Guys, on the shorter time frame here, I'm going to jump right into the 5-minute here because this structure, even though it's the 5-minute, this range has not broken in several days. And I've been pretty clear about this lately that I figure that as long as we're basically below 98.5, I am going to assume that the lower time frame is still bearish, and that's why we got this beautiful Stuber fib here where I'm in the short from. So basically, looking at the structure here, you can see that this is where this was obviously our lower low recently. Where was the previous low before that? Well, I mean, back here would have been the last time when this was broken. So that's our low. That's our lower low on the trend. So the highest point between the two, that's where I'm looking at the lower high. So that's where I pulled my fib from here down to here. Classic Stuber fib pull there. A classy Stuber fib pull. And notice where the price ends up struggling with resistance. Now, yesterday on the 1 minute, I actually ended up taking several scalps from this level. On the 1 minute, I think I ended up taking 4 scalps before the fourth one was the one that actually took off for me overnight and played out quite well. But I took a couple that I ended up just taking. As always, when I enter positions, I treat the first half like a scalp. So I was taking half my position profits very quickly to pay my fees and just to profit a little bit. And from there, most of them got stopped at break even after that. And that's fine. So even though the trade went against me, I still made money on it, right? So it didn't matter. And then the fourth one, yeah, turned into a beautiful position here. So still riding that. As well on Bitcoin, I still have my hedge short from up here at 101,626. As well as that original long off the Stuber fib down here. That got so close to being stopped out at break even, you guys. So close. But whatever. So I'm still slightly long on the market. I'm bearish, you guys. You guys who are here with me now, you guys know me well enough that you know I've been quite bearish recently. And even though that's the case, I still took that position, right? I'm ready for either direction. I don't really care where we go from here. It's a very nice, relaxing situation to be in. And that's why I took that hedge when we were up here. And this was just, we had a nice violent reaction for basically a full day. We trended to the upside when we found support off that obvious 94K level. Actually went lower, but basically right to the 886. That whole day, we trended to the upside. There was not a higher low broken on the 5-minute chart all day. And so when it finally did, I warned some people in my Telegram that, hey, I was looking at hedging a short actually, because I thought that, at that point, it's at least a sign of weakness. And if, we're showing weakness before we even got to my full Stuber target, right? We hit my first one, but not my second one up here. And, basically seeing that weakness early, and also the fact that I was a little bit bearish on the trend overall, I was just willing to pull the trigger on that, and it's a nice relaxing position to be in now. So I'm still taking scalps on shorter time frames and stuff, which is that one that I'm talking about here. But that's kind of how I approach this. The reason why I'm still quite concerned about this, and honestly a little bit bearish yet, is that yes, I am very aware, and this is why with my scalps I am updating my stop losses and taking profits quickly, is because I understand that on the 4-hour we are trading towards support, right? So I understand that shorting at support is a bit of a no-no, but the fact that we have already tested this support, we already got my bullish Stuber fib set up, and you guys know by now that I generally only like to play them the first time, and that's why it's so important to get good at spotting them fast, right? Because now there's going to be people being like, oh yeah, here we are, we're at the 786, 886 again if we come down here. But the thing is, it already played out once, right? We already hit my first target once, so that has officially played out as far as how I look at those setups. It is still support. I mean, support is support until it's broken, but it's just the more we end up testing it, the weaker it's going to get, right? So that's just a little bit of a concern of mine. So I'm not as bullish, even though I still have this little position going. I just have my concerns with this. The fact that we never just continued getting that nice follow through on the push, the fact that we're showing weakness already, that's just a little bit alarming to me. I will change my opinion about this, and I'll even consider this a little bit of a higher low. I don't yet. My reasoning for that is because on the shorter time frame, just this range here, basically, as we trended to the downside, notice that this would have been our last low, right? We have this low, we have this lower low, and that's our lower high. So that's actually that 98.5 I was talking about, right? So even though on the 5-minute chart, if we zoom out to the 4-hour chart, that's the structure, right? This is a more condensed version, but this structure is the same on the 4-hour. So even though, yes, it's a wick, it's a bit of a liquidity grab as far as playing the range, because at first, we play the range first, look for a breakout second. This range did technically already play out. So even if you played that as a liquidity grab, I would say that move already happened. So yes, it's absolutely possible we just curl to the upside and we do get bullish momentum. 100%, you guys. That is totally possible. I just have my concerns because we still have this structure to the downside on the micro trend, right? So even on the lower time frames, we do have this downtrend. But again, if we end up breaking that 98.5 resistance here, to me, that structure changes. So even if we pulled back at that point, if we did something like this and pulled back, I would actually be far more bullish in that case than I am at this level right now, because at that point we'd at least have something hinting at the fact that there's a bit of a structure break there. So in that case, I would be willing to at least be willing to take some hedge longs and stuff like that if we got that kind of a pullback. We don't have to necessarily get that pullback. That's trading, right? When you're looking for a certain strategy, sometimes they don't come to you, right? That's all there is to it. But I do strongly believe that if we end up breaking this resistance here, whether we go straight up or we pull back first, I think it makes a lot of sense that we would end up testing this purple box up here. And that's actually closer to about 103,000 US dollars to 105,000 US dollars. And then obviously a little bit more resistance above that as well. But I would really expect at that point to test this level, because in this case, that's where I would expect to find some resistance here, right? Because we have the structure for this that since we started this downtrend on the 4-hour, the bigger structure here, yeah, we went over the micro here, but the bigger structure here, this was our low, this was our lower low, this is our lower high, right? So when we pull our Fibonacci from our lower high to our lower low, the Stuber Fib pocket, that's where this purple box is. So that's why I'm kind of interested in that level. And honestly, I was expecting to get there really quickly here, but we showed weakness early. So I still think there's a chance we get some kind of a reaction if we go up there, because it hasn't quite been tested yet. Unlike the support, which I don't have much faith in because it's been tested already. I feel different about the resistance because it has not been tested yet. So I just feel like there's going to be at least one reaction off those levels. So if we get up there and the rest of my hedge short gets stopped out at break even, I'll be looking at taking new hedge shorts up in these levels, but I'll be watching the 5-minute and the 1-minute to at least find some sort of weakness in the trend when we hit those levels. I don't really like setting blind orders on a 4-hour. Maybe that's because I use high leverage and stuff like that, but that's kind of how I'm looking at that. I just got to catch up on first of all, I'm going to bring this up. Actually, Trump, I want to bring Trump up because as I mentioned to you guys right before starting this stream, I did start a little bit of a short on Trump. I mentioned this in my Telegram as well. That basically, look, I missed my Stuber entry, right? From this high down to here. The AI charting tools actually called this out at the time. Notice where the price stopped there, right in the 786, 886 fib pocket there. Beautiful short. Adrian, you had mentioned you caught that one. Absolutely beautiful there. Just a classic setup. But right now, basically, I'd be looking at some sort of a new pull if we end up getting a bounce from here. But since I missed that original Stuber fib, I ended up FOMOing into a bit of a short just because it does look weak to me. I do want to be in a short on Trump in general. But I'm just starting with a small position here right before the stream started. And I'm looking more so to ladder in heavier at my normal entries, something like that. as the price goes down, I'm just going to chase it, because actually I did have it like this basically, but since the price has dropped, the swing is getting bigger, right? So I will be looking to add to my Trump position if we do go a little bit higher. If we do end up breaking above these highs, our local highs back here around 1677 or so, at that point I would be looking for a test of the top of the range. So I'd be looking at pulling a fib from the top here down to where our current bottom is, where we found support. Basically, yeah, if we break that resistance, I see no reason why we wouldn't climb up a little higher, kind of something like so. That's how I would be looking at that. And honestly, I wouldn't be that surprised. Yes, I want to be in a Trump short, and yes, I'm taking one at these levels in case this range does drop, right? If we do end up wanting to test down kind of back at these levels back here or anything, then at least I'm in a short. This has just been one of my favorite coins to short, period, for the last month or so. So yeah, maybe it was a little bit of FOMO, but at least it's nice, tight invalidation. And yeah, if we break above these levels, I think we test up here, in which case I'll be checking into like the 1 minute and stuff like that, see if we can lose some structure. Get a much smaller Stuber fib type of setup, the Stuber in a Stuber kind of thing, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at on Trump right now. Bitcoin, see, I could see Bitcoin going a little bit higher because we did break this range, this resistance back here, right? Basically all of this, just a nice resist, and it might be getting a support flip here. So yeah, I could see us going higher, but again, I'm just basically remaining bearish on this trend until we break 98.5. Once we break 98.5, I'll at least start considering the possibility of longing this market, looking for scalp longs, or if we get a pullback, looking at more of a swing. But until then, I'm just looking at this structure here. That red line there just kind of showing where we broke structure, and then the fib pull to go with it, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. AVAX 3 hour. That's an interesting time frame. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. AVAX 3 hour. What do we got going on here? Let me just start with the naked chart basically. So the first thing I notice about this chart is that it has not broken a lower high. Or sorry, no, that is what I meant. It has not broken a lower high. This is basically where I'd be looking at resistance right now. Where can we find some before that? I mean, technically this little structure back here, but I would say more realistically something like that I would want to break. Because even at this point, if we go above this level here, like so, I don't consider that breaking a lower high, because we have not set another lower low since this level, right? This was our previous lower low, if you want to really micro-analyze it. If you want to go more a proper range, something like that. But yeah, so I have my concerns about that. I would honestly, and maybe this is just my strategy, but what I would love to see happen here would be, let's say we have our support like so. The way we could find a much better setup for tighter invalidation would be if we set a slightly lower low and then another slightly lower low, then we have a very tight range that we could break. And at that point, I would consider that a lower high broken, right? But as it stands right now, even if we drop a little bit lower, let's say we go something like this, we would still have to break all the way above this, right? Because This would be our low, lower low. Highest point between the two would be right here. So that's the structure in that case that I would want broken. That being said, as far as a bearish scenario, that's a tough one, honestly, because something, like I said, there is technically this structure here that would have already played out. Actually, so that structure was respected. So this is why I always say, guys, even on the micro time frames, you see this respected so well. If you were ready for that, and that would have been a very hard one to catch, but technically this was our low. We set a lower low, right? Highest point between the two is that. Pull your fib from top to bottom. Look where we get stopped, right below the 786 there. So if you were front running that, that would have been a perfect entry. So at this point, that one's already played out. So if we do end up bouncing, I mean, at that point, I would want to start testing the top of the range again, right? So then I would be looking at something much larger, much larger, and looking for resistance up in these levels. As far as support goes, I just need to see some new structure form. I need to see a lower high broken, basically. Actually, okay, something that I will consider. I thought I recognized a bullish Stuber fib there when I zoomed out. I mean, that filled that box absolutely perfectly there. So yeah, you know what? That is at least a reason why it could be finding support at these levels. I still love to see a break of a lower high structure as confirmation, but I mean, if you have those on the lower time frames to go with this larger pattern, I can see that being a valid setup. So yeah, you know what? I would say it's more likely, it's definitely more so at support rather than resistance. I don't think I would want to be shorting this right now unless you got some sort of a bounce, like I said, to the top of the range, but it's the AI tools saying. Yeah, so other than that, I mean, the next bearish setup I see on this, just using the AI charting tools, would be kind of up at this level. I agree with that fib pull. That's a nice pivot point. And notice we're getting the overlapping demand boxes too at these levels. So yeah, I mean, I see reasons why that could get a nice little recovery. No promises, but I see reasons for it. I've never really followed AVAX, to be honest, but can I add trend line on my fibs? Yes. Yes, I can. I assume. Yeah, here we go. There we go. Sure, let's do that. So basically pulled something like that, right? Yeah, no, that's a good idea because honestly, everybody pulls fibs a little bit different too. Like some people have them off to the side, some people have numbers on them, some don't. It can be confusing. Honestly, sometimes I look at other people's fibs and it takes me a second to see how they're seeing it, right? So absolutely, that's probably helpful. Thanks for that. Boxes shaded in besides coloring. Do you mean with the auto tools? If you go into settings and when you have your support resistance or supply demand, whichever, you can just change the color there, and that should show how bright they get. Or do you mean the ones that I manually do? Those you have a paint bucket can fill it in, or the pencil does the outline. I have them on my favorite tools. I can't remember where they are, but my only problem with doing this with the trend line is I'm worried I'm going to accidentally think that's a trend line that I made. That would be pretty funny. Because right now I was like, oh, are we finding support? And oh, yep. I mean, to be fair, that actually is kind of a trend line, but I do want to take a look at the weekly chart in a second here, guys. I'm just kind of checking up, just bringing up the lower time frames while I catch up on the chat here. Perfect. Think I'm all caught up. Right on, guys. All right, now let's get into every bear in the space. Everyone's bear porn here. Your bearish bedtime story here. Nothing has really changed for me on this, honestly, so I can't say there's anything new and exciting on the bearish side, but that's exactly what concerns me and why I am so bearish is nothing's changed. All I've been waiting for is for my theories to be invalidated, and since they haven't been, they are still my theories. So yeah, I understand that a lot of people are saying, you know, oh, it would have happened already. You know, the fact that we're holding here for so long, that's good. Understand that when you're waiting for a time frame, for a chart pattern to play out on a time frame, remember what that time frame is. I'm waiting for this to play out on a weekly chart. I mean, we've been going down for 2.5 candles here. What do you mean it hasn't played out fast enough? This is 2 candles. If this was a 1 minute chart and you entered a short right here, would you be like, why the hell are we still here 2 minutes later? No, probably not, right? So on the weekly chart, when we have this big warning sign, yeah, if it's going to play out, it's going to take a couple of months. So yeah, that's basically why I'm still bearish, is nothing has changed. You know, we still have all the same hopium and FOMO around Trump. Like another thing, you guys, something to consider here is, yes, the markets love Trump. Last time he was in office, he printed a ton of money and gave out a bunch of handouts and stuff. They're kind of going the opposite approach this time. They're cutting everything to save money and make it, you know, they are making their economy stronger. They are making their government stronger. I wouldn't overly say that they are putting that money in everyone else's pockets. And on top of that, with all the tariffs he's putting around the world and stuff, this doesn't matter where I stand politically, you guys. This is just straight up facts that the guy is pissing off a lot of people. And maybe the markets are going to react a little bit different from last time he was in office. Honestly, you guys, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. You guys know I'm not a fundamental guy. I do not trade based on that kind of stuff. I just trade the charts. But I'm just trying to look at things the opposite way. If everyone thinks that, yay, Trump, everyone needs to print money here, just understand, I mean, look what happened with his own meme coin. He rugged the shit out of all his followers. I mean, the guy that everyone thought was going to save crypto is personally rug pulling his own followers. So you have to understand that anything is possible this cycle. I'm not saying that it is definitely time for a bear market, but I am saying that there's still this big red flag and it has not been invalidated. And I don't care what's happening fundamentally, because honestly, even what I just said, there's a good chance I'm misunderstanding things. There's so many places you can misunderstand the world economy and not understand how something's going to affect something else. And people look at that for an edge in the market because they can't figure out how to follow a couple colorful lines. What are the chances they're going to figure out how the whole global economy works and reacts to every little bit of news? I've been saying this in the last several streams of mine. I literally only know one person personally who trades fundamental well, and he's not trading a 5-minute chart like me, or a 1 hour or a 4 hour. He's trading a weekly. Very different. Yes, as far as investments and stuff, fundamentals matter. As far as trading, day trading and stuff, good luck. I've tried to do that, and then I switched to trading the charts. and I'll tell you which one I would rather do, and I will continue to do. Stu coin when? Just a picture of a coin with a bear on it. With a bear that says 30K on it. Speaking of that, guys, I do want to zoom out on my weekly chart here. All fundamental analysis aside, just looking at the chart, like I said, we still have that big bearish divergence. All Bitcoin has to do for me to shut up about my bearish theories, this is all I'm asking. Break resistance, go back into overbought territory. One of those two things, I will gladly be a moon boy again. Until we see that, we're just attacking the same resistance level with significantly less strength. This indicator is literally the relative strength index. We have significantly less strength at the same resistance, and people think that we're guaranteed to break it. Yes, maybe it's just the market cooling off, but it's a very specific divergence that I look for time and time again. It played out over here for 8 months, right? Yeah, people are telling me that I was wrong about this. There was a 30% correction to the downside. I know a lot of you guys remember this time, and there was some very nice shorts to the downside being played off of that signal. That signal on the weekly led me to take that on shorter time frames, right? It was a market reversal last market cycle. I'm not saying our bear market has to start right now, but understand, when the bear market happens, I can almost guarantee the chart will look just like it does right now. It's very possible we continue higher, but when we do eventually get our double top, kind of some sort of bearish divergence in the RSI on the weekly, that'll be a big red flag to me every single time it shows up. That's the thing. It can absolutely carry on to the upside, but at least I'm not FOMOing longs into resistance when we have that divergence, right? Stu Bear coin, there you go. Well, okay, so maybe with Trump I shouldn't say rug pulled, but they did sell over, what was it, $500 million worth on the first day? But honestly, again, I could be very wrong on this, and that's why I don't trade fundamentals. Two-week RSI? I've never looked at a 2-week chart. That sounds scary. That's some big time frames. I don't want to put a custom one in. Yeah, so basically, you guys, if this reversal ends up playing, just looking for some realistic targets here, which feel like they would not be unrealistic, but just understand it's at least a possibility. If I was treating this weekly chart just like I treat a 5-minute chart or a 1-minute chart, if we lose this support, I see no reason why we wouldn't test the Stuber fib. In this case, the Stuber fib pulled from the previous range is down at about 63K, down to 56K. So I'm not saying that we're heading there. We don't have to head there. But if we break this support with this nasty reversal signal, I think it's a very realistic possibility that we could see some levels that people do not want to see. And again, like I was talking about with structure earlier on AVAX, if we did something like this, where we set a lower low and a very slightly lower low and then broke that, that would give me confidence that there's a very tight invalidation that, yes, things have reversed because at least we broke some sort of a lower high structure there. In that case, there's at least some signs in the structure that we are going to reverse. So if we got that kind of a setup on the weekly, I would consider it the downside of things, the sell-off. I think at that point that it would be over and we would continue to the upside. However, until that happens, I would just be assuming that we'd be coming way down here. Happy to be wrong about that, because if that happens, understand, guys, like, it's not like I sold all my crypto or anything like that. when I'm sounding extremely bearish like this is just me looking for reasons to be trading the downside, if anything, as a hedge against my portfolio, right? Because, yeah, my altcoins are going to get hammered just like everyone else's if this happens. I'm okay with that. As a trader, I welcome that volatility. Yeah, AVAX. Oh yeah, that's a 3 hour, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Trump, 5 minutes, still holding the sell signal on the Trendmaster indicator for now. One thing to consider, this is a slightly higher sell signal, so that is a little bit of a red flag. But again, I am kind of hoping that we go a little bit higher to get my other entries on a short. What does the 1 minute look like? Starting to look like we're trying to break this sell trend. But we are technically right at resistance on it right now. Let's bring up AI charting tools. Anything specific? We do have some supply zones up here, and that does line up with the resistance I was just watching for horizontal there. So yeah, I could absolutely see some resistance there. But again, if we just end up climbing higher, then I think it makes sense that we'd be testing the Stuber fib from way up here. I'd actually even consider going from this lower high, which doesn't quite match up with the indicator. The indicator's pulling it from up here, but I guess that would be a tighter risk, tighter invalidation if you waited for the higher one. I'm gonna check out the 5 minute again. That's more so the one I'm interested in. Notice we do have a nice supply zone here as well as a lower high printed here. So yeah, basically if we end up breaking this resistance up here I was talking about earlier, we would also be invalidating these lower high signals here on the indicator. And at that point, I think there's a pretty good chance that we're going to carry on to the upside like I was talking about. And notice that, you know, my Stuber fibs line up very well with this supply zone up here laid out by the AI charting tools. So obviously a very strong level of resistance up there if we get up there. I did want to look at Trump on the 4 hour as well. I know that's something I've been checking out for quite a while here. I really don't see anything overly bullish about this chart. The one thing I will consider, you guys, is that there's this potential double bottom, basically. You know, I'll give credit where credit is due. That could be a double bottom. My only concern about this is, again, the previous low was way back here. So low, lower low. As far as a Stuber fib goes, this would be my lower high. And that's the downtrend that I would want to see broken before getting bullish on this on the 4 hour. Obviously, that's a fair ways away, and you would be missing a lot of the profits if that's going to happen. But I would be more so wanting something like this. I would want to see that structure broken and then get a pullback to a bullish Stuber fib and then look to play it to the long side. That's more so what I would be looking for on something like that. But I have zero FOMO about getting into that coin because it has such a strong downtrend, and because shorting it's been so fun for the last month that I really have no FOMO about it, so I don't really care if I miss it either, right? Dollar cost averaging, if you really believe in the project, then sure, that's totally something different. If you're buying on the way down, at least there's that double bottom there. But for me personally, just for trading it specifically, I'm still favoring the downside. Sorry, like I said, my throat is scratchy the last day or two. Yeah, as far as the lower and higher sell signals and buy long and short signals, so that's with the Trendmaster indicator. Actually, let me get into something that's Um, so that's something like on its own, I don't generally take buy signals or sell signals. I more so only use them as confluence, and when I use them as confluence, it's more so looking for the direction on them. Unless I will take the odd scalp if I can get one right along the entry, kind of a thing. But here would be a good example where, okay, all of a sudden, let's just say right here. Let's start from right here. We get this higher buy signal. That actually would have been a complete failure, right? We never really got any higher than that. So like I said, on its own, take it for what it is. It's just something I look for with confluence. But here, when we ended up getting a lower buy signal followed by a lower sell signal, it was a warning that the trend was possibly reversing, right? And ever since that, we've just been struggling with the sell trend. So the thing is, yes, it's not always going to play out. Like here, for example, we had the opposite, right? Higher sell signal followed by a higher buy signal. Got stopped out very quickly, right? I would have had my stop somewhere below the structure back here if I was playing that. Whereas here, with that lower sell signal, you catch a very nice, an actual trending move, right? It's the trend master indicator, so it's looking more so for the trend rather than just your scalp entries. So it's kind of a way that I look for, I guess, scalp-sized risk setups, but with the potential of catching an actual trending move. So a much larger move compared to what the loss would be, right? That's more so where I like looking for this. And ideally, you get that kind of a setup where, like, okay, you get a lower buy signal, then it's just kind of a bit of a warning that, hey, even that lower buy signal, maybe I should start pulling bearish fibs, for example. I honestly have no idea if this one played out or not, but let's just say we get a lower buy signal. Okay, that's your warning. Let's start looking for a fib pull. Got very close to the 786, so never played out absolutely perfectly, but just kind of a way that I look for it, right? So when I start seeing which direction those things are trending, that will often make me consider which side of the trade I should be on, basically. Or like even right now, overall, I'm far more bearish than bullish right now. But if all of a sudden, let's say I get a higher sell signal followed by a higher buy signal and I'm in a nice short, at that point I would, even if I'm not interested in taking the long, I will at least downsize my position, take some profits off the table, just a form of risk management as well. Because that's kind of the thing, you guys, is I find most people use indicators to try and force themselves into more positions. Whereas, honestly, for me, I use them more so as a form of risk management. Risk management, taking profits just as much as looking for entries, right? I think that's something to consider is, hey, if I'm in a nice trade and all of a sudden the indicators are disagreeing with me, maybe it's not time to turn a blind eye to that. If that was a reason for me to get into a position another time, that should be reason enough for me to start taking profits on the opposite side of things as well, right? Hopefully that kind of makes sense. But yeah, like right now, for example, the next buy signal on the Trendmaster, I wouldn't take it serious because it's a significantly lower. I would just assume that even if we get a bounce, we'd likely end up finding resistance. Like right now, for example, if we get a lower buy signal somewhere soon, I would expect that, okay, yeah, from our last sell signal, basically, let's pull a fib from there. We'll probably get a lower sell signal somewhere in these areas. I shouldn't say probably, but it's something to watch for, basically, right? Oh, XRP. I've been forgetting about XRP lately. Thank you. Oh, I need to get some XRP shorts in just to trigger people. Damn, unfortunately I don't see one there because we actually found support back here. I mean, technically, even the fact that we held above here, like, look at this. Just since, if I just looked at this as a typical Stuber setup on XRP, high, higher high, higher low, pull a fib from there to there, and notice we already would have hit our first profit on a long setup there. You would have had your first 2 entries, depending how many you had, maybe even more. But yeah, at least 2 entries there. So yeah, that's just a typical Stuber fib setup, right? We have that structure break, get the fib pullback, rather than FOMOing in. Like, you know, I'm sure everybody who saw this, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of inexperienced traders see that structure break and instantly want to be in a long position. And I understand you still do have a fairly tight invalidation down here, right? But a lot of people who would have seen this move would have started FOMOing in way up at these levels because they wouldn't think it's going to come down, and then get wrecked on the way down, test that fib pocket, perfect entry with a nice tight stop loss. So that's what I really like about using Fibonacci's, is, you know, it's so structured, right? Yes, you're going to lose trades. That's a part of trading. No trade setup is going to work 100% of the time. But it's very much about controlling those losses, because FOMOing into breakouts, your invalidation is so far back, right? Whereas if you wait for those pullbacks to that structure, yeah, you might miss a trade. But at least if you take those trades, and when you take a loss, they're going to be a small one. Yeah, you owe me. Yeah, one thing I can say with confidence, XRP is not going to $10 this cycle. And some of you guys who follow me on Twitter know that I made a little bit of a bet on that. That if XRP hits over $10 this cycle, I need to live stream myself eating my own words. I just really like the taste of paper. I want to see this on the daily. That's interesting. It is just a wick below, but technically that did take out the lows of this range back here. I really wonder if that's going to hold as bearish structure. I understand it's just a wick, but I would not be surprised if we get that sort of a setup. If XRP does climb, I think we would just be setting a lower high. So notice we just basically got a perfect double top. If anything, a little bit of a liquidity grab on the weekly chart. This is a 7-year double top, you guys. That's some serious resistance right there. I mean, anybody who held on for these 7 years, if they're not taking profits when they come back to resistance, they haven't learned a thing. So that may be a lot of selling pressure up there. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Obviously, anything is possible. I just really don't see it going all too much higher. But like I said, we do. I'll eat my words. I'll write them down and I'll eat them. Trendmaster on the 4-hour. We've been fighting with this resistance, you guys, for over a week now, since February 3rd. So about 10 days, basically. Anytime we come up to this resistance on this sell trend, we just end up facing it as resistance. So again, just a little more resistance for Bitcoin. So even though we're getting closer to support, it, you know, there's some pressure building there. I mean, if we can get above this and turn it into a buy signal, I think at that point, again, I think it's very valid that we could be testing up towards these levels then. But until we break that 98.5, I just don't really see it. Trump 1 minute, still also struggling with that lower sell. Yeah. Any other altcoins anyone really wants me to look at on any time frames? Other than that, I was planning on basically watching Trump on the 1 minute here, babysitting my position. Oh, I gotta. What was my entry again? Let me just double check here. Yeah, see what happens here. Cookie. I forgot about Cookie. What exchange? Or does it matter? Binance? Binance is probably your best bet, I suppose. Ooh, BitGet. Look at you. Oh boy. It looks like we're about to... Oh, this is the 1 minute. It looks like we're about to print a lower sell signal, if I were to guess. Haven't yet, but it does look quite rolly over to me. We didn't even get up to a Stuber fib. I wonder if that's... I guess it's possible we get up a little higher first. That's technically where the resistance Stuber fib would be on the 1 minute. Actually, that being said, this uptrend was broken as well, right? So we could start chasing the price, something like that. So we do have some micro resistance building. Yeah, there's going to be a couple resistance levels on this chart. What kind of time frame are you thinking? The 5 minute, I see reasons for thinking that there could be a bullish one here. And my thinking for that is basically this is where this swing reversed, right? Where we ended up breaking some structure here. We had our low, lower low, lower high. We broke that, came back. Notice what happened here. Pull back, 786, 886, absolutely perfectly. Perfect pullback and off to the races there. So that would have been a beautiful setup. Obviously, that's capped in hindsight, so it does us no benefit, but that's just educational purposes. That's basically how that works. Break the structure, get the pullback, play the range first, and hope for a breakout with the rest, basically. So yeah, on the shorter time frames here, yeah, we lost this little bit of support here. So we could be forming that smaller one that would push us down, test this level back here. So this would be a case where, guys, this fib has not been tested yet, right? Because I know this one back here was, but that was a much different setup because that fib was only like so. As soon as we end up going higher, then we're obviously changing the fib, right? Just pulling it, chasing the price, and that's why I have my fib where I do. So yeah, I think it's quite likely the price is coming down here. I could see it. That's one I haven't traded. Is the liquidity and volume and everything good on that one? I think that's a fairly high market cap on that guy, isn't it? We could start looking for some sort of diagonal resistance. But honestly, I don't know. As far as horizontal resistance goes with Bitcoin, I'm still Like I said earlier and said it several times, as long as we're below 98.5, I think we have lower time frame bearish structure here. Break that, and I think we can test that 4-hour resistance test near the top of the range. But again, if we break that structure, don't be surprised if we do see a pullback. Again, just to really screw with people and make it as painful as possible, right? That's basically what happened back here, that exact thing. Ooh, LTC. What time frame? I'm gonna look on BloFin. Oh, I think I want to short this right now. Oh no, might have just missed an entry. I'll add her into a short on Litecoin. Sorry, give me a second here. Yeah, I'm starting a little bit of a short on this one. So guys, my reasoning for this is if we look at where we bottomed out here, look where our last low was. That's a bearish structure break. So then I'm pulling my fib from the highest point between the two, right? So basically I just entered, let me just throw my entry up here. And basically I have more, well actually I'm gonna put them in right now, but I'm going to throw some more entries into this. Invalidation above here and see what happens. Sorry, just setting orders here. All right, now we see what happens. 1 hour and 5 minutes. I know this is the 1 minute, but I assume the 5 minute will look very similar because that's a fairly big pull on a 1 minute. Yeah, exactly. So basically this is where our 5 minute change directions, right? We lost that structure there. We got very close to the 786, never quite got there. And then we set new structure again here. So we have this pull. So yeah, that's the same on the 5 minute. The 1 hour you said. Yeah, I can check out the 1 hour. Basically a double top on the 1 hour there. Because here we lost structure, right? On the immediate swing. Pull a fib from that high. That would have already played out. Technically. Because after that, we obviously, you would have got 3 entries into a Stuber fib, and you would have hit your 0.5 fib target. So technically, that could have already played out on the 1 hour. Obviously, there's the larger pull as well. But again, that one also played out. But you can see how often these show up, right? When you end up breaking structure, end up getting that pullback to the 786, 886. Perfect. Boom. There's your first take profit as the 0.5 fib. Never quite got to the 214 yet. It might still. Hard to say. But yeah, that's basically the resistance I'd be looking at on the 1 hour for now. Something like so. Let's go back to the 5 minute. Can't click it. There we go. Yeah, does all that make sense, you guys? How I'm pulling my fibs? Something to consider, you guys, is until you start to really see it, there is a few mistakes you can make, like microstructure like this, right? Understand that when I'm pulling these, sometimes I'm looking at very microstructure like this, and sometimes that will affect the way the fibs work. And but there's just there's a few things to watch for, but there's so many different examples of how ranges look so different and stuff. But basically, this is where the range pivoted, right? This is where we set the top of the current range. And as far as we go down after that, I mean, this is the pivotal point, right? The pivotal point on the bottom. It can keep going down from here. Who knows? If we set another lower low here, then I would pull my fib from here and just follow the price. But it looks like we're about to hit my first take profit already on this. So I'm actually going to remove my other orders on LTC. And I'm bumping my stop loss to break even. And I am closing a quarter. So yeah, that's one of those cases where, you know, I never got my further entries, but I did. I'm considering that my first take profit or my first target. And since I'm considering my first target hit, then basically I want to remove my other orders because the trade setup has already played out once. So if we end up smashing through this Stuber fib pocket now, then I just have less confidence in the bears at that point, basically, since it's already played out. But since I'm just looking at this as a scalp, yeah, you know what? I took a quarter. I'm willing to update stop loss to break even because I got a few positions on the go right now, and I don't want to get too many things going. But yeah, we'll see if this ends up hitting my second take profit relatively soon. Sir, you were missing Stu right now. But now you're here. The rest of this might get stopped out really soon here. But we'll see. Risk-free at this point. Bitcoin, what's the 1 minute looking like? Oh, you know what I see there. So you guys are probably starting to see why I like those that fib pocket so much. And yeah, the more you see them, the quicker you see them, the more often you start to see them. You see them when you don't want to see them. They start to appear everywhere. And I mean, yeah, not every single one is going to be worth trading, or just understand that sometimes the range targets are going to be very close. And if you're going to pull a really small range, for example, and yeah, in that case, if you don't take profits at the range targets and then you're upset that you lost a position because you didn't take profits when you were supposed to because they weren't big enough or whatever, well, then maybe you're just pulling too small of a range kind of a thing. Or just accept the risks that, hey, you know what, I'm willing to hang on to this as a reversal, and if I'm wrong, I'm okay being stopped out kind of a thing. But yeah, you start to see them everywhere. And specifically after you get those structure breaks. I typically define structure as 2 of the same candles back-to-back minimum. What are your rules for break of structure? For me, I personally don't care if there's 2 there. I totally get what you're saying, right? Everyone has their own set of rules. For me, it's as long as that structure does continue going the other way. Like, let's say I'm looking for a break in structure after a bearish move. Even if it's just 1 candle, if there's a green candle in there and then we go down further on the next candle, I'm considering that a broken bit of structure. But the thing is, when you are micro-analyzing that way, understand, guys, like for a lot of you guys here, you should not be micro-analyzing that closely. I want to be very clear about that. Unless you have rules in place and that sort of thing, it can obviously lead to overtrading. But yeah, I find that when you do find that kind of structure, so often you get very, very tight invalidations anyways. But yeah, the structure needs, like, so if I have, let's say, 5 red candles going to the downside, let's just say down, 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 and then up, and then down, and we break that low, I'm considering this my new lower high. Hopefully that makes sense. And again, that's not for everybody, right? Everybody has their own trading styles. Everybody, like you guys, we could have the same indicators, same trend lines, same fibs, same everything, and I guarantee we trade this market different, right? So just understand what works for you. Back test your own theories before you throw in any money on any kind of position. You should always be back testing what kind of strategy you're going to be trading, because if you don't have a strategy or you don't know how you're looking at it, then you just shouldn't be throwing money on something like that. So I did front run this a little bit, my first target with Litecoin, but that's totally fine. I always do front run my targets a little bit, but it has actually hit the 0.5 fib now, so thank you for bringing that to my attention. That was a quick scramble to get in there. And that's the thing too, you guys. understand that not, as I was talking about at the start of the stream, not everybody should be trading the 1 minute or the 5 minute. If you are, you have to understand how fast you need to be able to react like that, to be able to set orders to make your decision. Like, as soon as I saw it, before I even mapped it out, I saw the bearish fib setup there. I saw it and I was in my position within about 8 seconds probably. So understand that if you can't react and you can't set orders fast, trading the 1 minute probably isn't for you, because a minute later it could be a completely different setup. Unless you're still at your entry levels, but if you're just going to kind of market into it, for example, yeah, it could be a completely different setup, honestly, 5 seconds later. You have no idea. Oh, nice, you took it as well. Sick. You were quicker on it. I had to talk. I can barely do 2 things at once. I can't talk and breathe at the same time, not to mention talk and set an order. Nice. Trump continuing to dump. You know what, guys? On Trump, I'm going to remove my orders higher up. And I'm going to set my stop loss to break even. Actually, a very small profit above this structure a little bit. I can barely walk stairs and chew gum at the same time. Oh, so you're saying you're able to? I'm impressed. Nice, nice. You guys are good. Yeah, I just kind of want to see how Trump and Litecoin plays out for a few more minutes here. Who here is in positions right now, I guess? Let's have them. I'm not going to check any new coins anymore. I'm winding down here. I just want to watch these charts for a few more minutes. Oh, actually, no. I ignored your Inge comment, so I will check Inge yet. What time frame? 5? 15? God, I'm going to end up FOMOing into more positions, aren't I? 5 or 15 or 1 hour? You're getting the 5. You're getting the 5-er. That's a tough one. I mean, the structure is to the downside, I would say. Ever since we lost this here, right? Well, this is our range. The thing is, we have tested this super fib pocket already. Actually, very recently. But it has also played out once already. So something to consider, right? The bearish setup may have already played out on the 5 minute. If I were to look for a bullish fib pull, if we are going to continue to the downside with that bearish setup, then I would start pulling a fib from down here. Yeah, something like so. Notice we had a nice bullish one back here. Or actually, even right here, I think we had one. Yeah, whatever. Those are old. They don't care. They don't matter. I mean, these are the two that I'd be currently watching. Support down here, resistance up here. Something like so. There we go. Yeah, that's basically what I'd be watching right now and that would go for the 5 minute. That would be the same on the 15 minute. The hour, maybe not so much on the 1 hour. Well, yeah. Honestly, the hour, you could even pull a bigger one. You could go right from the bottom of the range, do something like that. So if we do end up losing those support levels, that's kind of the new area I'd be watching. Now, I'm curious if it's the same as what we saw earlier. Holy, inches down that much, hey? That's one I have not looked at in months. Where are we on the weekly here? Holy, had so many things. Interesting place to get a little bit of a reaction here on the weekly. That's interesting. So yeah, on the macro time frame, I would say it's at support, but on the shorter time frames, I would still have a hard time longing at this point for now. But if you can get into some sort of a scalp that turns into a runner, I mean, that might be that might be a nice one. For my scalps, do I keep staring at the charts throughout the whole day, or do I just look at the chart and see if something might be cooking? Um, so it depends. If there's a bigger range pull that I think we probably won't see that level for a few hours or something, then I'll just set an alert, and I'll still check once in a while to see, but just in case I miss an alert or whatever. But generally, in that case, I can set an alert when we get close to those levels, and then I can kind of get ready. Um, if I'm scalping the 1 minute, then usually I like if I can pick out if I'm going to enter a position very quickly, just like what we just did with Litecoin, right? Um, I can look at a chart and within 10 seconds, I probably know if I'm taking a trade. But if I do take the trade, then I'm probably going to be looking at it for at least 10, 15 minutes because, and after that point, I have most likely downsized my positions, updated my stop loss, done something where I feel like I've got rid of my risk, or at least to a level of risk I'm comfortable with. And then from there, I can walk away and have take profits preset. Obviously, my fib targets, I always front run them a little bit. Um, but I always preset those first two orders so that my basically the first half of my position is more the scalp, and after that, if it runs, great. If not, it's getting stopped at break even and whatever. So at that point, I don't have to stare at it, right? It all depends just how active you want to be scalping, right? Because there's always smaller ranges inside bigger ranges. There's always different size ranges, so it really depends how scalpy you're getting, I guess. Like there's some days where yeah, it might only be in a position for a couple minutes at a time, and I'm I can't remember what day. There was a day recently where I was, well, even yesterday, I guess I took like four of the same Bitcoin trades real quickly. It depends on the day, right? If I'm sitting here, I have three monitors on the go, so if I'm playing video games, watching a show, and trading at the same time or whatever, then yeah, I just have the chart there anyways, right? So it really depends what I'm doing. It depends how scalpy you're getting. That should probably say depends how degenerate you're getting. Stewart getting. Yeah, I see what you did there. That one almost snuck right by me. Love it. See, you're getting it. Zeus gets it. My name just goes in things. My name will ruin music for most of you eventually. Right, Adrian? Um, Litecoin, I'd still love to see it hit my second target here. Trump still has this downtrend here. Beautiful, beautiful. Ooh, Bitcoin's actually, that super fib, I would consider that hitting my take, or sorry, I would consider that my first target, because I always front run my 0.5 fib a little bit. I'm not in a trade from this, but I'm just saying that in a typical super fib, that technically would have played out. Really just hugging that resistance on the Trendmaster on the 4 hour. Yeah, I have a feeling that Bitcoin will shoot up a little higher. I mean, it could get rejected right here, but I just have a feeling that we're going to kind of retest maybe the resistance of this kind of a pull. I would not be too surprised to see that. I still prefer the bigger pull because there hasn't been a lower low set here from this. Like, we never broke this low back here. If we did, I would feel very confident about pulling a fib, something like that, wherever the price ends up. But we don't have that. So yes, there is technically this Stuber fib because we broke this resist or this support. Holy, have another one. Something like that. Since we broke that, yes, I think the first time we test these levels, we would see some sort of a reaction. So I think absolutely it's possible that we get a rejection there or a nice short opportunity up there. But I still prefer my other pull. Let's just rewind here a couple times. There we go. Just because it's a little bigger and because it's what I feel is the more proper structure. Harps, thanks for joining. Have yourself a good one. Only started trying a few 1 to 3 minute scalps recently, so see how this goes. But yeah, reaction time has to be in seconds. Absolutely. It's got to be very quick. Quite often, even if I'm waiting to see a reaction, I'll just have my order ready. I personally like to use limit orders because I don't like the possibility of slippage with market orders. But I will just have it set, like if I'm shorting, I'll have my limit order set a little bit lower than what it's at, so it will trigger right away unless the price jumps too much, in which case I would consider my trade invalid at that point anyways, or whatever, right? But yeah, I personally only like limit orders. Market orders scare me, especially when you're trading low volume altcoins. Those of you who have invested in or trying to day trade some of those low volume ones, like Trio, for example, you definitely don't want to be doing heavy market buys on stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I hold some coins like that as well. Trio and this Infinio, they're very much the same, right? Where the orders are so far apart and they're so thin in the order books and stuff. But I obviously wouldn't be trading them with leverage or market buying or market selling, for that matter, with large amounts. Yeah, and the fees, honestly, outside the slippage, like you said there, Brandon, fees. The fees are way heavier when you're using market buys, market sells. To be fair, when you're doing it the limit order to having them go immediately, it's probably the same, if I were to guess. So yeah, limit orders ahead if you can get shit just ahead or whatever. That's ideal. I'd really like to see this nuke real quick to my second target here. I'm actually going to bump up my stop loss to a profit as well. I'm going to treat this for the scalp that it is. Very small, basically cover my fees and shit. But basically just keeping it a little bit above this structure here. Because as I was talking about structure before, this is our low, so this was our low, lower low, lower high. So basically just leaving a little bit of wiggle room above this, making sure I just take a little extra off this one. Let's do 126.61. So a lot of times what I'll do with scalping, you guys, is if I get myself into a good position, there's any kind of movement like this, I will just chase it with a stop loss like this, just giving a little bit of wiggle room and just being like, you know what, if that structure breaks, I'm okay taking the scalp profits. That's kind of how I like to scalp, with the potential of catching a running position. Just very quickly, basically like finding a setup on a 5-minute, and then once I enter, going into the 1 minute, and if I can find that structure like this, I mean, then it's easy to keep a stop loss in a place where, hey, if this structure breaks here, then I don't want to be in that position anymore anyways, right? So that's kind of how I do that for chasing. It is unfortunate that you have to manually do it, because I don't like using a trailing stop loss with a percentage or anything, because I like to use that structure, and which is always changing depending how tight of ranges it's going to form and stuff like that on the way down. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do with this position. This other purple box is really annoying me, so I am just going to keep it to the scalpy scalps. Hey? Scalpy scalps? Little shorty short? Oh, look at that. Getting rejected on my trend line, right, guys? Just kidding. Let's see, what are the auto charting tools saying? We do have this resistance up here. So the auto fibs did actually pull a bullish one there that got invalidated. Notice that. Did break below the 115 there. Luckily, I'm not trading the long side of things anyways. And I mean, if you left some wiggle room, you might have been okay there too, I should say, but since there's a lower high there, I would more so, I'm still more interested in something like that. So yeah, basically, well, actually, yeah, we did just test that Stuber. Didn't even see that, but that basically just played out in the last 3 minutes, getting real close to the 0.5 fib. Yeah, obviously it's too late, but like I said, you just get faster and faster at spotting them. But yeah, basically, if we end up invalidating this Stuber fib here, then I'm going to be stopped out of my Trump position. Leave a little wiggle room. I'll do 16,381. Like it's crazy, guys, how often the 786 or 886 serves as a reversal point of some kind. I know a lot of you guys are very familiar with it now as well. How many of you guys trade the Stuber fibs? Just curious. If anybody. Nice. 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 That's awesome, guys. Yeah, it's nice just because it really it's so often you get the reversal off that level the first time. And yeah, it's just so nice that I need something systematic like that too. It takes the nice, there it is. Takes out a lot of the guesswork, right? It's not, oh, is that going to be wicks? Oh, is that going to be candle bodies? Is that going to be average touch points? So many things with like support resistance or trend lines or whatever. Everyone treats them different. So I guess as long as you have a back-tested systematic strategy, that's fine too. But I find with fibs, it's so easy. It just takes so much of the interpretation out of it. But I mean, like I said, right here's a perfect example. Low, lower low, lower high, 786, boom. Target 1, target 2. And in that case, if you were in that type of a short, then you have half your position. If it's going to run, then you catch a much bigger position, right? Because I find, guys, so many times I hear people say, oh, I don't know if I should close my position or not. There's always the opportunity to close part of a position. Honestly, it's my favorite part about trading crypto is that you don't need full shares or anything like that. Yeah, being able to take partial profits. If you're ever asking yourself, should I close my position right now? Maybe just close part of it, right? Because so many times you see a running position, it's like, oh, I should not have closed my whole position. Yeah, you know, even if you just leave 10% running or 20 or 25 or whatever, just leaving some run just in case. I'm a big fan of that. Or even honestly, just as a cushion for your next trade, just to help your average entry out. I knew that's what you looked like. All right. What about... Oh, Litecoin? Not quite yet. We did just set a lower low, though. So this is one of those cases where I can actually drop my lower high, right? Because we have low, lower low, lower high. I'm not going to change my stop loss because that's a very, very minimal structure change. But micro analyzing here, structure for what it is, that is now the lower high that I'm interested in on the very immediate swing starting here. Oh, that one would have got invalidated, but yes, is it going to? There is some resistance there. It's not an ideal level for me yet. I would want to see at least something like that. I mean, to each their own, and it could absolutely be rolling over early. On the 1 minute, we did lose some support. Honestly, I would even consider that break right here. Right at the top, technically. Again, yes, it's very micro-analyzing, but technically got higher. We break that, and straight to the downside. Lower low. We break that. That confirmed this as our lower high. Again, very micro-analyzing, but just showing you guys like how closely you can analyze structure and how well it actually works as far as invalidations and stuff. I mean, if you entered a momentum short as we broke below this level, you have a nice tight invalidation right above here, right? Not saying everyone should be over trading like that, but just showing you how tight and how well respected structure actually is, even on the 1 minute. The 5 minute, I don't think I'd want to short Bitcoin quite yet. Just in case this is a thing. I just really want to see Litecoin hit my second target here. Any minute. What is the trend master saying? Ooh, just got a sell signal. Lower sell signal. Excellent. That was after a lower buy. So I'm hoping this will continue pushing. So this would actually, again, this is going to be in hindsight, but just from what I was talking about earlier, about using those signals when looking for trade setups, here's one of those times, right, where we got the warning with the lower buy signal warning. And then if we pull our fib from the top, the highest point from there, we ended up getting a perfect Stuber fib pull there, right? So just a little bit of confluence there that we have a Stuber fib matching up with the lower buy signal. And it has at least hit its first take profit already. So I never had those signals up, but that would have been additional confluence there. One, 2, 4, 8, 8 sounds like a good spot for my next quarter profit, and then I'll leave half run if it keeps going from there. I am disappointed in myself since I don't normally trade Litecoin. My leverage is at an embarrassing 3x rather than my typical 25 or 69. So pretty self-conscious about this right now, about how small the percentage looks. I had the quick reaction to get into the trade, but I did not have that asset ready ahead of time. Ooh, ooh, there it is. There it is. I need to do something. Give me a sec here, guys. I got to update a couple people here real quick. Anyone besides, I assume Adrian still is, but anybody else in any Trump shorts right now? Let's go. Yeah, let me just take a quarter profits there. Boom. Yeah. Trump to zero. No, I don't think it's going to zero personally, but I am not one of those people who's desperately trying to FOMO into it either, for all the reasons I have talked about. Honestly, honestly, when it comes to me shorting Trump, it just comes down to the chart. I don't care about anything else. Whatever's going on behind closed doors, like I said, I can misanalyze anything. Um, as far as fundamentals, but as far as the chart goes, like I said, we just still have not broke a lower high in the 4 hour. In the history of this coin, it has not broken a 4 hour lower high in its life. So currently, that is down here around $20, yeah, 66 cents, somewhere in there. And again, even bringing up the trend master, look where we're struggling right now. The indicator is just pushing it to the downside still. There you go. Nice. Nice Bitcoin short there. Yeah, man, did the trend master absolutely nailed that. Perfect resistance. Let's go. Well, let me zoom out a little bit again. I have that double bottom. Now, I know this isn't an actual Stuber fib, but there is at least possibility of 786 support. It's not a Stuber fib because a lower high wasn't actually broken. I'm not considering this a lower high because, again, there was no lower low set right here. If that had happened, this would be my structure. But since it hasn't happened, my structure is up here. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to try and guess a bottom for this. I have zero interest in catching along on it. I'm only interested in playing the short side of this thing, and that's been ever since, what was it, $50? Some of you guys will remember a few weeks ago when I was shorting this already. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, getting closer. So Litecoin, technically, we did drop our lower high a little bit. Same thing. Low, lower low, lower high. So I'm actually going to bump up. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to bump up my stop loss. 125.88. Just treating that one as a little scalp. So, technically, see, when I said that they start to show up on really small time frames. I mean, I'm not saying this has to hold on this micro of a time frame, but it could. And so far, there was an immediate reaction off that 886. So it's funny when you start to see these. But if this gets invalidated, then I want to take the rest of my profits off my short here, basically, on that Litecoin one. Nice little scalp either way. It does look like it might break. They might have front run this the second take profit on that one a little bit. Oh, we're still good. Oh, I think we're going. We are going to be going right away. I'm going to erase this because the Stuber fib is no longer a factor. We could still get rejected right here, in which case I just got very lucky with this stop loss. But I think it will be stopped out any minute. Or we just nuke straight to that target. One or the other. This weekly candle is going to be an interesting one, you guys. Honestly, if we close green, it's really looking like we're trying to hold support. But again, that bearish divergence is so nasty. This 4 hour, still nasty. Oh, I might have got lucky there. We'll see. Sunday midnight stream. Are you putting one on? Or should I? One of us should. Or someone should. No, no, you go. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Is this it? Yeah, I'd love to say I'd be out kiteboarding on Sunday, but it is literally minus 45 degrees Celsius right now. It's been a miserable week. And it's supposed to be like this till about Wednesday. So I'm going to be hibernating. Yeah, t-shirt weather. To be fair, I will go start the vehicle in a shirt, in a t-shirt, or I'll take out the garbage, but man, your skin hurts quick. Oh, there's the rest of my Litecoin. That was a weird wick. Yeah, that got stopped out, the rest of it. Yeah, to be fair, that is what I was going for. Great show. Okay, I'm going to close that because I'm not interested in Litecoin anymore now. I am tempted to take a little more profits off this guy. Nah. Already took some. Let's let her ride. I think we can go lower. It is possible we're doing a SR flip here. Turn this resistance into support over here. Absolutely possible, but meh. I like having a Trump short open. As it stands right now, there is kind of new structure that is formed here. One last thing I'll talk about. Technically, we had our low here, and we've set a new lower low here. So I could pull a fib from up here and just chase to where the price ends up going. But that being said, this is one of those times that since we've set a new lower low, if we set another really tight one like this and then break that, it might be a setup for a long, but we don't have that yet. Very much so, still favoring the downside. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over. Holy hell, thank you guys for hearing me out here. We've been here for 2 full hours. But yeah, it's always a blast, guys. Always, I love having you guys here. Thank you so much for joining. I like getting your take on the market, seeing what coins you guys are watching, all that sort of stuff. So yeah. If you guys ever miss these streams or you want to rewatch any part of them or anything like that, I do upload them to my own YouTube channel, StuTube Trading, all one word. That should be uploaded generally an hour or 2 after we wrap up here. But yeah, for those of you guys watching this on my YouTube channel a little bit later, if you are interested in joining the MDX ALGO community and gain access to my favorite indicators on TradingView, there is a link down below which gives you a 10% discount on checkout. Also, I have recently started a private Telegram channel where I share some of my trade ideas, scalp setups, Stuber fib levels, just my general thoughts on the market, kind of a place to keep all my thoughts together without getting flooded out and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's completely free for people who trade on BloFin using my new sign up link. You can find details about that down below as well. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.